Welcome back to the Car Design Dialogue, and thank you for that last session from Myotech. But we're going to take you to the next level. CDN actually has supported the student community, and as you saw yesterday evening through the Car Design China Awards, we're identifying some amazing talent. Now we're actually going to take you to Milano, to the Transportation and Automobile Design course, better known as TAD. And we're going to be introduced by Fausto Breve, the director of the Specialist Masters Program, and with Mike Robinson, the most famous designer, American stroke Italian designer, is going to run through the students' work. But before I hand over to them, all the students are going to be available in the live chat. So if I take you on a little bit of a journey on how to get to them, if you see on the sidebar on your left, it's got scroll down to exhibitors, then scroll down there in alphabetical order to TAD, click TAD, scroll down a little bit further, click show me all the contacts, and you'll see all the students, all the top 14 students you're going to see today, and their great work are going to be there available for a live chat. You can either nudge them or you can actually have a face-to-face meeting with them. These guys are going to get it snapped up, so make sure that you connect with them. So all it left for me to do is to hand you over to Fausto and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the graduation day of the Master in Transportation and Automobile Design. My name is Fausto Brevi and I'm the director of this postgraduate specializing master course of Politecnico di Milano run by Polydesign Consortium. Politecnico di Milano is the most important Italian technical university that trains engineers, architects, and industrial designers. It's a well-known university in Italy, founded more than 150 years ago, and it was able this year to reach the 5th place for art and design subject in the QS World University Ranking. Well, let's go introducing the common background of the project that the students will show you in the next minutes. Projects that are gathered with the title Vehicles for Hybrid Environments. The assumption is that in the next 30 years we will see great socio-cultural changes, mainly triggered by climate changes. And this will lead us to face old and new problems with a different awareness and a different point of view to look at the mobility for people. Probably the current standard vehicles will be not able to manage in an adequate way congested traffic in large megacities and also in unstable environment directly affected by climate changes. From this common background, the students designed vehicles able to switch from the standard mode of traveling to an alternative mode, choosing for each of the groups and for each of the projects a second environment in which the vehicle could move with the same efficiency of the first one. I want to highlight that the projects were designed with a brand as a reference. The brands were chosen directly by the students for consistency with the design objective, without any direct involvement by the brand's owners. And now let me thank you very much all the today attendees for being part of this event. I want to thank also Flora Gaetani, Communication Manager of the course, for the huge work done in the backstage for the organization of this event. Alice Pignatel, Coordinator of the Master Course, and all the faculty members. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the students that attended this course with a lot of passion and enthusiasm. also in the troubled times that we are living. Indeed, because of the pandemic variable situation, we had to switch during the past months several times from working in presence to remote mode and vice versa. And they were great to stay strong all the time, also learning a lot about how to work as a team, even being from home. Well, now let me introduce the chairman that will manage the discussion about the project developed by students. He was born in Los Angeles, California, and he graduated from the University of Washington in Seattle. And immediately after graduating, he moved to Italy in Torino area, and he is still here after 40 years spent working in Italy as a car designer. So now I leave the stage to Michael Robinson and to the students.
Thanks a lot, Fausto. Today is a really great day. In reality, we have 13 students here today. 11 of them are here present with us physically, and 2 of them are in India who works on these projects and will be participating on the webcam. So I'd like to start out presenting the very first project. It's called the Bugatti Ciel, and there's 5 students working on this project. I'd like to introduce them very quickly. Sagar Akana Sridharda is from India. We've got Gianluca Bezzecchi, Niccolò Falzoni, Matteo Russo, Niccolò Tassi. I would move forward with the project and go right into the video. All right. First and foremost, the one thing that strikes me about this project is the name. The name not only of the car, but the name of the brand. Bugatti is a very, very famous name. It's very old name, a very spectacular car. Just got sold from Volkswagen to Rimac, which is also an interesting thing. And I'd like to ask Niccolò, could you explain what it is about this? How did you come to choose Bugatti, and what it is that struck you about this name?
Well, the decision behind this brand, it's something that we really had to study and evaluate properly. And it's been, as you can imagine, a key step for our project. First of all, we had some really big constraints in terms of costs, technologies, and technical requirements. And Bugatti is a brand well known for its engineering capabilities, and it always pushes to the limit in that way. Then we have the pioneeristic philosophy of this brand that always tried to be a trendsetter. And we have an example here in this mood board, looking at the Veyron, that when came out, it gave life to a sort of hype all around it, giving life to the segment of the hypercar. And so we think, of course, that the future in 2050 Megalopolis won't be the hypercar, but a completely different object, maybe a new frontier to explore, a new trend to be set. And this could be the flying vehicle.
Can you tell me, moving forward in this brand evolution, in 2015, moving from record-holding speed that Bugattis have today and multi-million-dollar one-off cars, which is a pretty amazing world, how did you guys transform that into this, which you've done here today?
Well, Bugatti uses the poetic narrative of the pioneers of fly since its foundation, and this is an heritage they are really proud of. And so we wanted to transmit those values into this object, but paying attention, not falling into the retro styling, but pushing on the exclusivity of this type of objects. And I'm talking about exclusivity because we don't believe in the myth of the flying vehicle as the solution to avoid the traffic of the overcrowded cities. But we think at it as a way of commuting that very few people could do. so something exclusive.
I'd like to ask Gianluca, what is your vision of the future? What do you guys think is going to change between 2021 and 2050?
Well, we identified as a main constraint thinking about the future the fact that the population will increase a lot in 2050. So probably the cities in 2050 will look like vertical developed megalopolis, and they will be chaotic and frenetical, just like as an honeycomb. So just try now to imagine how the streets of the future could be crowded and congested with traffic. So this imagination exercise leads us to define a vehicle that could easily escape from the grip of the traffic, taking flight for short periods. And you could rightly ask to yourself, but if the solution to avoid traffic is flying, why shouldn't everybody fly? Well, because in that case, we will just risk to create a new traffic jam in the sky without solving the problem. So always think about the future. We thought that our client will be someone that will do an extremely urgent and important job related to the new problematics that technological development could bring on, such as cybersecurity issues. So as a consequence, will be also a well-retributed job, let's say. So our client would like to have a vehicle that clearly shall be fast in short travels, but also made to stand out as Bugatti has always been. For this reason, we wanted to exploit technology in order not to being a distraction from something tedious like being stuck in the traffic with your car, but to create something new, something unique. So for this reason, our vehicle can change its internal morphology in order to adapt to every kind of user. So bringing to the extreme the concept of tailor-made in order to create something completely unique so that each of our clients can feel unique too.
All right, I'd like to go forward with talking about how we can translate these concepts into a more pragmatic solution. And Matteo, can you explain something a little bit more about the interior of the car?
Yeah, so as Gianluca was saying, we decided to start from the Bugatti user to define the experience that we want to construct our interior on. And we think that moving on to the 2050, this user will evolve, but it won't change. And the experience will do the same along with him. And so in our opinion, this new evolved experience demands for a new typology of vehicle with a new concept of interior. And so we want our user to live a complete tailor-made experience. And that's why the interior of the CL will be customized, versatile, and minimal, just like a tailor-made suit, basically.
Well, out of all these different concepts, talking about experiential design, talking about bespoke design, which is trying to find a way to do mass personalization, these are really, really the cutting-edge technology. And what was the one aspect of this interior that you really stands out in the development you guys did?
Yeah, an example of this philosophy, for example, can be found in the seat, which is the main element of this space, that is designed to recognize and adapt to different situations. For example, it can host one passenger in the center as well as two passengers side by side, like in a traditional two-seater. And translating what was for us a technical constraint to manage, like the strict weight distribution, into a design opportunity. And another element that sticks out in this interior is the central dash that hosts the only physical command of the whole car. And again, these elements were designed to work together, moving and sliding, to adapt to different user and different situations, for example, when switching from autonomous mode to manual drive. And yeah, so as you can see, the whole interior is designed to work as a system at the service of the user and to make him live such an extreme experience like flight with the same ease as its daily commute in an environment that also wants to convey the idea of lightness that we draw as an inspiration from flight pioneers and, for example, from the only airplane that Bugatti ever designed, the 100P.
All right, thank you, Matteo. Now I'd like to move on to Niccolo and ask you about the whole idea of the Bugatti 35. You look back to the past of Bugatti to project into the future. This mix between the past and the future can be very confusing to not do retro cars, but also not leave everything behind in something completely different. How did you work this out with the past and the future?
Yeah, exactly. As you said, and many of the viewers can have spotted, the main inspiration of the project is the Bugatti Type 35. And we sat down, as you said, to analyze what truly makes this car, the 35, one of the most pioneeristic and icon of the brand Bugatti. Keeping in mind that our goal was not to homage, as you said, but it was to construct around that vehicle. Because we think that Ciel should be a sort of a renaissance of the brand Bugatti for the 2050. And starting this new renaissance, we wanted to analyze the shapes and the lines of that car, because we think in that shape, in that line of the Type 35, were sculpted all the values at the dawn of the brand. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the 35, it has a very different mission, obviously, compared to this guy. First of all, size, proportions, period, and technology. How did you guys work out with the mission for this car, trying to project it into a whole new world?
Yeah, it has been tricky, really challenging, because as you think that the Type 35 is a car from 1930 and we are designing for 2050, it's been like 120 years, so it's difficult. But we think that the 35 has, we can translate that in our car. Focusing on the lines, as you can see, the front section, which in the Type 35 is the radiator grille. Here in the Ciel, we have the windshield. Then moving behind the windshield, the shape is created is a teardrop shape, which ends like the 35. Here we have this
boat tail,
this shape, and then all this volume leans on the chassis, on the black chassis, which that holds the battery pack. And here we wanted to recall the sensation of open wheels of the Type 35. Also, another pillar of stylistic pillar of Bugatti is the C in the side of the car, which creates the windows of the car. And all these elements, we sum up these elements because we think that we want to find the answer for the future in the past of the brand.
What kind of experience do you think people will have in a downtown area, walking around these cars and seeing them and using them and becoming accustomed to them? What kind of things did you guys design into this in terms of user experience outside the vehicle? This is a cigar. So I'm just going to talk to cigar. Can you talk about the experience outside the vehicle with the flying, everything, and how it's going to work?
Yeah. The experience, what we call as the Bugatti experience, should not only be enjoyed by the people who sit inside it, but also pleasurable for the people who stand around it. So we focused on that part of the experience too. In our vehicle, we know the most crucial part is the process of takeoff and landing. And it was very necessary for us to build a vehicle that did not rely on any kind of specialized infrastructure. Our vehicle will actually connect with the people around it very intuitively in order to thrive in the urban environment.
Can I ask you a question, Cigar? With the vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, this guy is a very small vehicle, but it also has a very unique capabilities. How did you guys design the upper part of this car? Was it a very special design compared to wheels and tires and batteries? The helicopter part is a very difficult part of designing cars.
Well, actually, the exterior experience is very intimately connected to the CMF. We all know that Bugatti has always been associated with haute couture and exclusivity. So we want our clients to have luxurious and tailor-made experience. And keeping that in mind, we recreated the iconic Bugatti two-tone livery while giving our clients plenty of room for personalization and also providing them the luxury to appreciate a full customization. But in order to achieve that, the CMF plays a very important role to guarantee that the color, material, and finish requirements of our clients are met. As my colleague Matteo previously stated, we want our clients to be able to design an object that meets all their wants and desires, fitting them like a bespoke suit.
All right, thanks a lot. Now I'd like to move towards the video, and we'll see if we can see the final video, which shows the whole thing flying. Okay, I'd like to move to the second project, which is the Keyway. The Keyway is a very, very unique project. I'd like to start out presenting the designers. We've got with us here up on the stage Daniel Brambilla, Gabriele Mascagni, Matthew Ortega, and Manuel Venturini. Okay. It's wonderful for me to see the Space Needle because I grew up right there in that city. And we moved from London, which we hammered last night with a great participation in the European Cup, to Seattle, which is a very, very avant-garde city, full of water. So people driving on land and on water is a very unique situation. I think you guys are going to talk a lot about that. Let's take a look at the movie. So we've got a Keyway, but we've also got a whole situation which is talking about 2050. Now, Matthew, I'd like you, if you could explain a little bit about what is your vision of 2050, how it's going to change, what's the world going to look like?
Yeah, we imagine, obviously, an electrified future. Mm-hmm. We imagine an hybrid system in which different means of transport are connected and integrated in the urban context. Mm-hmm. We predicted new shapes. Obviously, some autonomous vehicles, but drivable ones too. And but even more than that, we imagined new type of mobility solutions. That's why we wanted something that moves differently, and we end up designing an amphibious vehicle, something that expands the boundaries of travel experience, and that moves easily on water and on land. Then we make a step back, we look at the context, and we predicted that new competitors will embrace this vision, new companies. It's something that is happening now, but for 2050, we predicted that Keyway could be one of them. Not only because it's a strongly characterized company, but also because their products, as our vehicle, have this ambivalent nature. They're comfortable on land, on wet and dry environments.
Well, mixing these two together with Keyway, which obviously not an automobile company, and coming up with new concepts, what does this change mean to you guys when you start going through your design process?
Yeah, we imagine that with those new competitors, mobility will be more accessible, more affordable. That's why we choose as reference users a family. So a father, Liam, a daughter, Mia, and a son, Tim. We imagine how they can move through the city, what are their daily activities. We listed the needs, and then we designed the interiors, the functions, the interfaces of the vehicle around them. So it's an experience wrapped around our users. Another big achievement that we reached is that we created a very flexible mobility solution. So our vehicle can be used by all of them in different hours of the day, alone or together, and give to each one of them a different experience. So it's very tailored on our user.
Mm-hmm. Can you go a little bit deeper maybe into that experience thing, and how about these future needs that you mentioned that the family's going to have in a car, getting in a car and land, getting in a car and water? How's that going to, the whole experience of using this vehicle going to change?
Yeah, we decided to talk about the project through the lenses of our users. So the first one that we'll talk is the father, Liam. He chose our vehicle because it's compact, it's practical. He is no longer constrained by bridges or steamboats when going through the city. And then because he thinks that there's a good blend between automotive and nautical elements into the shape of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, moving forward, I'd like to find out what are some special features of this, these shapes, and maybe Gabriele, you can explain a little bit more about that.
Yes. Some of Keywave features derive from technical requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So the need to go on water was studied and resolved through solutions aimed at maximizing the hydrodynamic efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about hydrodynamic, it was natural to take also buoyancy in consideration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for this reason, the first thing we established was a semi-displacement hull and flaps to let the vehicle to cut through the water. At the same way, the rear wheel is covered to minimize the water turbulence.
Mm. Well, what process did you guys go through when you developed this design? Did you have any special activities that you did?
Yeah, the front flaps and the rear wheel arches reminds the shape of a catamaran with a central hull joining the two sides. The hull houses the greenhouse, which should be considered as a separate cell. And there's a clear difference in style between the hard edge volumes of the hull and the more rounded ones of the greenhouse. Mm-hmm. Starting from these basic volumes, we arrived at the definition of the final design. The overall design of Keywave uses stance shapes to slick the side, and the belt line is quite sloping so that it is almost horizontal when the vehicle is moving through the water.
Mm-hmm. Well, since Keywave has a number of different modes of traveling, the mobility modes, can you explain a little bit about the manual one, when you're actually driving the vehicle?
Yeah. Liam, one of the main reasons Liam chose Keywave is that he really appreciates on land manual driving that in 2050 will become quite rare. Yeah. And so he can enjoy the urban streets of Seattle whenever he can. Mm-hmm. He just takes out the steering wheel and that's it.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, once you're driving on the streets, I imagine that you have to start thinking about how we're going to get into more, parking on a pier. I mean, if you're going to drive the streets, open the door, get out, and walk on the sidewalk. If you're in the water, you go out on a pier to get into it, putting luggage in the back. I think it's all very complicated, right?
To solve this problem, we design the front dashboard in a new way. Okay. We imagined Mia going to the port to do some shopping. When she returns to the car, can put her bags in the rear trunk. So we can put the bags under the dash.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, why did you choose a gullwing door for this type of solution?
Keywave used the gullwing instead of the other doors because they give more entrance space. Mm-hmm. For example, when Mia is near the pier, she should be able to stand up and move from one side to the other as easily as possible. Mm-hmm. In fact, this kind of door, when they are opened, took a part of the roof and permits to have more space above the head.
What about the same situation, but on the ground? Is it the same thing true for the ground, the gullwing doors and the trunk and things like that? How does that work?
we having a child in our user, and so we need a retractable step to overcome the high side member due to the water line, and to facilitate the ingress and egress space for all the user. We reduce the height of the vehicle from the ground, and we put handles for helping, and in addition, our front seats can slide and lift for help the leg movement for exiting or exiting. Entering or exiting.
Okay. I'd like to ask Manuel, thank you. I'd like to ask Manuel, what about the life on board of this, with the family, with how do they interact with one another inside the car?
So I'll tell you about the vision of a team that really enjoys traveling around in this vehicle, because he stays often together with his father in the back seats while Q-Wave is in autonomous mode. And also he's very happy because has at his disposal a storage compartment between the back seats in which he can put his toys and can play with it through an interface.
What about the concept of the interior? How is that linked to the exterior? Was there some ideas? You have some special components that you can inter-exchange inside the car?
Yes. We can see that we didn't have a central tunnel. That's because we need to let the people move freely from one side to the other of the car. And for this reason, we have a sliding element, and we decided to put all those elements into this central orange band that is a quote to the iconic SIP. But I would like to tell you about the concept of our interior, doing a step back, that can be summarized with this orange band, and that crosses the whole greenhouse, and a blue one that goes around the perimeter of it.
And how do these things change from one mode to the other? They look like they have a number of different things. It's a very flexible interior.
Yeah, in these images, we can see some comparison. For example, the central image is the vehicle in the lounge configuration with the seats folded. And in the last part, with the steering wheel off, this is the vehicle in driving mode. Because, as said before, we have different sliding elements in this orange band. And so starting from the front, as an extension of the dashboard and final part of the zip, the steering wheel is the protagonist of the front part of our car. Normally, when the vehicle is in autonomous mode, we can find it folded and acts as a practical handle. Then, moving towards the back, we can find the storage compartment, the one used by the child, with the interface that can act also as a control area for the vehicle in autonomous mode. And finally, between the back seats, there is an armrest with a shape that reminds of a zip slider.
Well, the whole idea of this interior looks very playful, very joyful, and full of bright colors. What is the relationship between this interior design and the brand Q-Wave itself?
Yeah, so our child, Tim, really enjoys our interior mainly because, it's soft and colorful. That's because we played a lot with the colors and tones typical of the brand. But not only. Also, we played with the technical fabrics and material typical of Q-Wave. For example, the whole interior is covered by technical fabrics, including also the front interfaces, and we can see in the images. And then we worked a lot to transmit the Q-Wave feeling. Now I'll give you an example. We can see the seats that has to give the impression to be seated inside of a jacket with a breathable absorbent interior and a nylon exterior to be easy cleaned. And that's because in this way we embraced and transmitted the Q-Wave soul at its fullest.
Well, I assume that this car being on the water, people could get wet, and so therefore the fabrics have to be water repellent and lots of such special technology. So I think you guys had a fun time coming up with new technology for automobiles that don't normally happen that way, but you just probably did a lot of research for colored materials. Yeah. All right, so we go ahead and look at the video, the final video. Wonderful. That was a great project. I'd like to go back to our final project today, which is the GoPro Kios. And we've got a team of 4 people here, 3 people on the stage, and 1 person is following us in India. We've got Emanuele Campignotti, Riccardo Gallo, Rikwith Nagaraj from India, and Simone Toninato. Just go for the video. You guys got an incredible bio project here, which I think has a very unique mission. First of all, being a tourist vehicle. Second of all, going on land and on the water and under the water. Yes. So you chose an extremely complex, extremely difficult project. Can you explain a little bit more about this project?
Yeah, to do so, we started analyzing the future of 2050 scenario, and we thought that, as we can see already today, there will be a worsening of environmental condition, as an increasing of water level globally, and then also our biodiversity, today's biodiversity, will be put at risk. So we said that humanity will have to change their behaviors on a more sustainable way to safeguard and protect the environment itself. So people will have to change the behavior on that way. And we thought that this will pass also through the tourism sector, and it's mainly the sustainable sector, the sustainable tourism actually. And we said we took this as a pillar for our project, and also we chose a brand that is GoPro, because we thought that it fit quite perfectly with the values that we want to have in our project. And then also, we thought that thanks to our project, it can become a protagonist in its sector.
Well, Emanuele, what's how is it going to fit into this tourism segment? Obviously, it's got to be something tourism on the beach, in the water, and on the islands, but it's certainly got to have a lot of very, very complex situations about it. Can you explain a little bit more about how sustainable tourism?
Yeah, to do that, the sustainable tourism is a trend that it started from 80s, but it's really growing up today, and we thought that it will be mainly important for the future. We started analyzing the tourism sector in general, and we saw that it's mainly concentrated on coastal areas. That's because it offers way more opportunity than other sites, starting from the interesting site that you can actually find on that places, like interesting sites both on land and on the water that you can reach without doing long distances. Then, from a natural point of view, generally, on the coastal area, on the underwater world, you can find the biggest biodiversity concentration on Earth. And then, from a company point of view, there is a really high competitivity between companies that are always pushed to find new solution and diversify the offer. And finally, we thought that there will be an increasing of protected areas like natural parks that are inaccessible to normal circulation, and we took this as a potential for our project, actually.
Fantastic, thank you. Simone, can you explain a little bit about the characteristics of this vehicle? Designing the vehicle, this incredibly challenging project, how did you go about designing the vehicle in 3 different worlds?
Yeah, as Emanuele said before, our vehicle is for 2 people who are on vacation. So it is not a fast vehicle because it was designed to better appreciate the scenario around us on land or underwater. And that makes our vehicle different from others is the ability to navigate underwater. This kind of experience can take place starting directly from land or with a progressive dive after a surface navigation. Yeah, but to do this, it was essential to meet certain requirements.
What are those requirements? Can you just list them pretty quickly?
Yeah, first of all, for the diving experience, the cockpit, this cockpit, must be resist to the saltwater pressure. So for this reason, we started from a spherical shape, but we have to satisfy also 2 other conditions: the minimum volume possible and the maximum weight possible. Sorry. Yeah. In the same way, we try also to go on the water between the 2 phases. So we have a transition. For this transition, we have also 2 inflatable air tanks on the sides, 1 here and 1 or this. Okay.
What do you think is the strength of this vehicle? Obviously, you're going down under the water. You have to have a different kind of visibility compared to the street or the urban environment. How did you go about looking at these requirements for the different types of things you have in this vehicle?
We have before 2 different devices to go underwater: the front stabilizer wing and 4 thrusters. 2 of these thrusters are in the upper lateral part of the vehicle and are directional. But for the visibility, the user experience is absolutely unique. Yeah, and it strongly binds us to the GoPro brands. The huge front glass consent our to capture, to capture image in front of us. And for this reason, our door is in the back part of the vehicle, and we haven't any pillars, which would affected the lateral visibility. Yeah, we consider also the water line, because it's really, really important for our project. And for this reason, we have 3 steps and a handrail to add safety in the entry phase in anti-slip surface, obviously. Of course, we have chosen also the autonomous or assisted drivings because is for the complexity, of our scenario. It's really, really complex. Okay.
All right. I'd like to ask Rikwith, talk a little bit more about the vehicle, about some inside the vehicle. Can you explain a little bit more about the experience inside?
We wanted to provide a very interactive experience between the user and the vehicle. So as you can see, every tourist is welcomed with a smart device, which is basically a flexible device that can be attached on your wrist without any difficulties. And this can be used to interact with our vehicle and as well as other GoPro products. We wanted to focus on a very user-oriented experience so that our vehicle can be used by everyone. And so, for example, you can call the vehicle to your location and then open the door using this device. And we believe...
Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. We believe in customer hospitality. So for this reason, we provided towels in the back compartment of the vehicle, which can be used by the users to clean themselves in case they're wet or covered in sand. And then they can get inside the vehicle using the handrails for support.
What about driving the car, the vehicle on land? What you can do, special things you can do on land? Is it off-roader? Is it a city car? How does it work outside the water?
So firstly, this can be used to move around and explore the island, whether you want to move to unique spots or traverse through off-road terrain or simply just go to the beach from your room. So, and once you get inside, you're provided with two options. You can either choose to make predetermined trips which are recommended by the resort, or you can visit spots on your own if you're feeling adventurous. Similarly, we have provided two driving modes. One is highly assisted with just a few voice controls, and the other one is completely autonomous. And during the journey, you can enjoy the breathtaking views and also record the experiences that you want to relive later using a bookmark feature that is available on this device. And at the same time, you can share this experience that you're going through in real time with everyone. So as you can see, the journey is not just limited to on land. In order to experience the underwater world, you can move to the beach and then start sailing to the spot of your choice with the help of the inflatable tubes that are present.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Ricardo, can you explain a little bit more about the interior of the vehicle?
Well, starting from a very limited space inside, as you can see, and also since our backrest, our door corresponds to our backrest, we developed the seating units in a more vertical position, but with compact, also in essential shapes. Then, also because of the typology of our vehicle, since it is a shared vehicle, we thought of making the cushions fully removable and cleanable. Then, next to the seats, we placed two compressed towels for offering the possibility to the user to dry themselves, and after the use, placing these towels under the seats, where we provided a storage space. Finally, to make the overall perception of the seats even more immersive with the underwater world, we have applied a concentrical 3D line pattern, which wraps the interior from the floor up to the roof and recalls the bioluminescent creatures that live in those scenarios. This pattern will have more function. It will provide an anti-slippery surface, but also a drainage canal for dirt and water, and at the same time a source of light that can change color according to the user preferences.
That's pretty cool. Speaking of colors, how did you get to work about on the CMF, the color materials and things to come up with some different directions for a potential production?
Yeah, we developed two colors configuration. One is called Adventure, and is strictly linked with the GoPro design language, with this high contrast in colors that gives to the vehicle a sporty appeal. Instead, the second configuration is called Deep Ocean, and is more elegant and plays with changing colors that recalls the reflection of lights underwater. Also, since of the typology of our vehicle, because it's a very particular vehicle, we search for very durable, scratch-resistant, but also hydro-repellent materials. And we found them in the EcoNil, which is a very sustainable and ecologic nylon, and the Dynamica microfiber. These two materials we applied on the seats, while the Corian, finally, we found also the Corian, which is a very durable polymer, and we applied it on the structure of the cabin.
Well, these type of materials research is extremely important to try to find ways of moving outside the traditional Fiat Panda style materials that's very traditional things. You're moving, first of all, 2050, second of all, you're taking a car and going under the water. So I think that it's really exciting to see how much you guys have pushed forward, pushing back the boundaries of the automobile industry today, looking into new directions. I think it's really a fun project. I'd like to take a look at the video now.
Thank you very much to everybody that attended this morning graduation day. The live streaming stops here, and we will see just with students and parents in half an hour in Castiglione classroom for the proclamation. Thank you to all.
Wow, what an amazing session. And TAD should be so proud of the students' work and what they've achieved. Thank you, Fausto, and the team at TAD for bringing us this great design review of your class of 2021, and especially Michael Robinson for chairing the session, running through the students' work, actually using his experience to explain it. As I mentioned earlier, all of the students are available online. If you go to the exhibition booth, click through to the people in the contacts there, and you can reach out to them. These guys are ready for jobs, ready for placement, ready for internships. Also, I'd like to mention that the TAD team will be there also. So if you want to look at being involved in the college, you know, partnering with them or sponsoring projects with them, they're there as well. And they'd love that for you to contact them. Now we're going to take a short break before we head to our final session of the day with Shira Nakamura, with our editor, James, actually moderating the session. It's going to be a fabulous look into his life and what he believes the future is. So let's take a break and we'll see you soon.
Pininfarina has been designing the future for 90 years. The future of people, their dreams and desires. Design drives imagination beyond limits and technique. Design enables us to create emotions, meaning, and impact. Enriching and enchanting how people move, play, learn, and connect. We combine an innate Italian sense of beauty, balancing it with technological and business innovation, but also ethics. Design is more than an approach or a set of skills and tools. It is a mindset to interpret the world and to decide how to behave collectively to craft material and immaterial experiences, now and into the future. A future that we at Pininfarina will continue to imagine, design and build.